If I wrote a book, it'd be called The Accidental Activist, because I am always dragged into doing things. I am an oldest son of a conservative family, so I tend to be not politically, well, yes, politically conservative, but also, good Southern family I came from. We just, didn't make waves, and I kind of grew up with that. But my activism has always been somewhat accidental, so we'll see that. I'm going to go through some of my experiences with reconciliation, but before I do that, with my experiences with reconciling after the Prop 8, before I do that, I want to give a really quick 20-year history of my life, just so you understand why that was important for me. I was born and raised Episcopalian, good old Virginia boy that I am. I was very searching when I was in my teens, and I found the Mormon Church. I decided to join the church when I was 17, against the wishes and desires of my entire family. My mother was completely against it. My grandparents disowned me. It was not something that they were very happy with. I was joining that cult, going off to a 2-year stint, as they call it. I joined the church under unusual circumstances. In 1977, I couldn't hold the priesthood, believe it or not, because my grandmother is Native American and she has African American ancestry. And I just happened to tell my bishop that because they were talking about it. I said, well, they said it wasn't the color of your skin, it was your ancestry. I said, well, blonde hair, blue eye, what does that mean? So, I couldn't hold the priesthood. But I joined the church anyway, went on a mission, held many positions in the church, and worked hard. I knew I was gay from early on. I knew that I was attracted to men. Matter of fact, in my teen years, before I joined the church, I had a boyfriend who I loved dearly. And I always tell myself I'm not going to get choked up, but he killed himself when I was 18, the same year, within a month of me joining the church, actually. It was a very difficult time for me. It sent me into kind of a huge, very long depression in many ways, and send me deep in the closet. Interestingly enough, I joined the church. When I joined the church, I didn't know much about their position on homosexuality. I hadn't heard it until after Billy died. I heard somebody say in the church it was next to murder being gay, and so that sent me really quickly into the closet and into therapy. I came home off my mission unchanged, obviously. After my mission, I went through aversion therapy at BYU, as my bishop sent me off to that, thinking that would change me. It did not. It did send me deeper into a depression, deeper into realizing I was nothing in this world. But I continued on with the church. I loved the church. Even through the struggles I was going through, I loved the church. I loved the teachings. I loved the people. I joined the church because I loved it. By 1990, I had come to reconcile with myself that I was not going to change no matter how much therapy he put me through. I came out. I started my PhD program that year. I came out to my bishop. I came out to my family. I came out to everybody, pretty much. I decided to remain in the church, single, celibate, and devout. And I did so, as you see, I'm flying through my history. I did so for 6 years, until I met my now husband, who I knew at BYU. He's over there in the corner, so I keep looking at him. I knew at BYU. I came to Sunstone to give a talk on the biology of sexuality in 1996. He was in the audience. He turned to his mother and said, I know him, he's gay. He's straight. Of course, I started my talk with, I'm a gay Mormon male. So did he have any radar? It's really broken. We talked and had an incredible weekend, and I went back to New York where I was getting my PhD, and we emailed back. I was finishing up actually, and we emailed back and forth, and then finally just started having phone calls late in the night until the morning. I was still active in the church, but I had fallen in love. And by that time I also had realized that not only for me, being celibate in the church was not what God wanted for me. I met him, and so I had decided that this is the person for me. We dated long distance for a while. The interesting thing was, in that same period, my bishop called me in and told me that he had heard from a bird that I had given a talk that was critical of the church leaders. He, of course, read the transcript, which is interesting because, as Mitch can tell you, I don't prepare my talks. I give talks all the time in biology. I'm a biologist. I'm always teaching biology to other scientists, certain parts of biology, and I'm always doing that. I'm always writing down and giving my talk. So there was no transcript, so somebody was out there in the audience making a transcript. My bishop had read it, and he told me, he says, I see no critical thing here. That's no big deal. But he said, I hear you have a boyfriend. And he knew I was gay, of course. And I said, I do. He heard it from the missionaries who came to my house every Thursday and had dinner. And they asked one Thursday, and my roommates and said, oh, he's with his boyfriend. So they gave it away. And so that started the process for my excommunication. I was excommunicated January of '97, so 6 months after I met Guy. It was, as Guy could tell you, it was a difficult time for me. I had dedicated 20 years of my life against the wishes of family and friends, not holding the priesthood, trying to change. I spent 20 years of my life dedicated to that church, and it was a really rough time of my life. They had a court. I was not going to allow them to excommunicate me without seeing me. And so not only me, but Guy, my bishop, my home teacher, and letters from everybody I knew. And I forced them to sit through 3 hours of 3 or 4 hours of an excommunication court. I wanted them to see who they were kicking out of the church. Not that I was some amazing person, but I didn't want them just to see a name on the it was actually a very spiritual experience for me and for them. We had ended, the stake president called me and Guy into his office with his counselors. They had been discussing it after we left, and we had all the witnesses and everything, and the stake president said, if it was up to the council, I would not be excommunicated. But he said he had to follow the letter of the law, and I had to be excommunicated. When he said that, I had the most peaceful feeling I have had in, well, almost my whole life. One of the most beautiful feelings. It was just right. I knew that that's what was needed for me. Guy and I went on and lived our lives. We had a commitment ceremony that was amazing. Most all of our families were there, our friends. There's the support and love of all the people that are important to me. I got a job in Germany. We moved to Germany. We adopted a now 8-year-old. She was an infant at the time, 10 days old. She lived a while in Germany with us. We came home because our parents insisted that we don't raise their grandchild away from them. So we came home. I had made a life. The church was behind me. I loved it. I loved the people. Guy is the opposite of me. I'm a convert from Virginia, and he's born in the covenant from pioneers, Danish pioneers and such. But we loved our family. They loved us. I was set in my life. I had a daughter and a husband, and my family all lived in the Bay Area, most of them, and it was all set. Prop 8 came, and Guy and I swear, I'm from a very political family. My mother and father both active Republicans. They were. My mother has shifted. She's become a Democrat par excellence, and my dad has shifted more conservative. They've always been very active in politics. My mother was the campaign chairman for Nixon in Virginia, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it was always very political, but Prop 8 made me the most political I've ever been in my life. I had, at this point, gotten married to him. If you had asked me 20 years before, in 1977, when I was living in Colorado, when the man married somebody in Colorado and the clerk had married him, and then it was a big whoop-de-doo, and I was there, I would never imagined in my life that I'd have the life I had. That I would have a husband and a child and be married and legally married and have a love and support in my family. It was just beyond my imagination, even 10 years before that. So when Prop 8 came, I was horrified. I was angry and I was upset. I worked harder than I had ever worked on any campaign. We walked the streets, we called the phones, we gave more money than we ever. I gave money that he didn't know I gave. Sorry. It was something. So it was a very bittersweet election for me. I also was, the precinct chairman for the Obama campaign, so it was, very bittersweet for me. But I was angry more than anything. It had tore his family apart, as parts of his family were very pro-8. It tore me apart as my best friend who baptized me, and we went to college together. As he supported Prop 8 and sent money all the way from Colorado. It made me angry and furious. The reason why is I had felt that I had left the Mormon Church, that I had built my life and made my peace, and the Mormon Church decided it wasn't enough, and they were going to come in and take it all away. So I was angry. Fast forward a little while, Guy had heard about some reconciliation meetings that President Critchfield was doing in Oakland, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. He dragged me. I did not want to go. I was not going to set my foot in the Mormon Church ever again. He literally, pretty much, I told him the entire way there, I don't want to go. I don't know why we're going. I don't want to go. I was moved. I was deeply moved that there were Mormons in the world who were hurt and pained by the Prop 8 campaign and were trying to reconcile. We then later had a dinner with President Critchfield. Criddle. Sorry, I keep saying Critchfield to somebody else. Criddle, thank you, President Criddle. Later on at a friend of ours' house, who also a friend, Mormons, with a daughter, and we had a wonderful meeting with him. And then when Elder Jensen came, we met that morning with him and listened to him. I have to tell you, my anger dissipated. I'm still, don't forgive the church leaders for Prop 8 and what they continue to do. But the anger dissipated. And I have come back to feeling peace towards my former faith and towards the people that I do love. We have since had meetings and affirmation to help build that reconciliation. We will probably meet in Provo with the bishop there, and we will continue to have these dinners as best we can to build those bridges. And for me, in some ways, it's not teaching Mormons, in some ways it's as much teaching Mormons to understand us and what our lives are like, but to help, the other is to help other gay men, Mormon and not Mormon, lose their anger also. I think the church is changing. It changes at a glacial pace, but it does. And I would like other gay men to see that too. I don't think they will be, it may take some dragging, but, like it did with me. But I have to say that President Criddle and all the people who have been working towards that have done an amazing thing. They really have. And I will, and we will continue to participate in that. So I'm just giving you that. That's my experience.